Well, here I am with Andy and Katie Mant from bondcharge.com, one of my favorite companies. And I was just talking to them about how I am using the red light therapy mask as well as red light toothbrush and how I've seen really good results with my gum lining based on my dental hygienist, what she was saying. Since I started using that red light toothbrush, it's really good stuff. And they're all about biohacking and really getting into the light spectrum. And that's what we're going to talk about today. I always say malillumination is to the body. That means poor light exposure is to the body what malnutrition is to the body, because light is a form of information to the cells of our body, just like nutrition is. And so we're going to talk about that and how we get the right light at the right time and how important that is. And so Andy and Katie, thanks for joining me all the way from Australia, although you guys are currently in LA, right?
Absolutely. Just landed last night. So nice to be here.
Yeah, great. Well, let's talk about BondCharge. I mean, you guys have all kinds of really cool products. You got PEMF, red light, different circadian lighting devices. Why did you guys start this company?
It was after our own quest. We couldn't find products that would help us align our circadian rhythms to help optimize our sleep, to sort of better our own wellness journey. When we were getting ready for our wedding 8 years ago, we were on a bit of a fitness kick, so to speak, like most brides and grooms are. And there was just a lack of products on the market that actually did what the science was saying. We were delving deep into the literature to understand how do you optimize sleep, how do you manage your weight effectively, how do you reduce stress, how do you look and feel your best. And what the studies were saying just didn't match up with things that were on the market at the time. And the journey started with managing artificial blue light after dark. And so we designed blue light blocking glasses that blocked 100% of the melatonin disrupting blue-green light. And that's how the brand started. And over the years, it has just evolved to the complete wellness solution that it is now.
Yeah, that's key. And you mentioned artificial lighting and particularly blue light, right? And how that blocks melatonin. Now, blue light does have some benefits, but of course, we in the wellness community, we only talk about the negative elements of it, right? And it is important to understand that blue light can be really counterproductive to good health at times if you're getting it at the wrong time. But can you guys talk more about blue light? What are the pros and cons? When should we be getting it? When should we not?
Yeah, I think that's a really good question. I'm glad you've kind of touched upon the double-edged sword here that we're talking about, because a lot of people out there like to demonize certain things. Like they might say fat's bad, carbs bad. Blue light's no exception to that. Blue light within context is actually very good for you. If you're getting blue light from the sun first thing in the morning, you're going to be increasing dopamine, serotonin, and cortisol, which are all super important hormones and neurotransmitters to keep you healthy, alert, and awake during the day. That's what we need. But the issue we've got is that we're receiving artificial light at the wrong time of the day, which is then tricking our body into secreting and suppressing certain hormones. I can take it back a little bit further to explain what that really means and what's happening in so much as we need to look at circadian rhythms. So we've got a circadian clock, like a body clock, that's located in the center of the brain in the suprachiasmatic nucleus. And what that does is that tells the time based on environmental cues, one being light. And we evolved with this millions of years in the past. We evolved with this clock system. When we got up in the mornings, all these hundreds of thousands of years ago, or even a few hundred years ago, the light outside would tell our body to, like I said earlier, suppress melatonin, but increase cortisol, serotonin, dopamine. As the sun changed throughout the day, different neurotransmitters and hormones would be upregulated, downregulated, things like leptin, ghrelin. Then when the blue light from the sun disappeared, when the sun set and the reds and orange lights come into play, that would tell the body, the body clock, that, well, we can dial our cortisol levels down now and start to upregulate melatonin, which is an antioxidant and a sleep hormone. But what we've done now is we've still got that same circadian rhythm that's ancient, but we're in a modern environment where we've brought loads of artificial suns into our home. So when the sun's set and we're looking at our laptop, our TV, our smartphone, maybe our overhead lightings, our fridge light, our appliances, they're all giving out similar light frequencies to what's found in sunlight. Now, the body clock can't tell the difference between natural and artificial light, so it's sending the wrong signals to the brain at the wrong time of the day, which basically keeps our cortisol levels high, keeps our melatonin levels low, which disrupts our sleep quality and our sleep quantity.
Yeah, that's so important. So again, with light, it's all about timing, getting the right light at the right time. So like you were saying, blue light, great during the daytime. It helps give us wakefulness and helps with mental energy. However, not good at night. We need to be blocking it at night. So, Katie, I know you mentioned blue light blocking glasses, right? It's something I personally use, right? Can you explain more about that, why those are so important?
Absolutely. Well, after dark, like we've just touched upon, you want to be sending the signals to your body that it is nighttime. And the way to do that is to block any source of blue light, which naturally in nature has already gone when the sun has set. But in our modern day world, when we're indoors switching on artificial light, we're still getting that cue. So what blue light blocking glasses do, if they are 100% blue light blocking, it will block all of that light despite you being in that environment. So what it means is you can be in your home, in your gym, at work, at the supermarket, at the shopping mall, with red lens blue light blocking glasses, be under artificial blue light, but not be sending the signal through your eyes that it's daytime, quote unquote, and therefore your body is able to understand what time of day it actually is, despite the artificial blue light being present, and decrease the cortisol, like Andy had mentioned, and increase the melatonin to optimize your circadian rhythm and prepare you for sleep.
You know what's really interesting as well? When we were one of the first to invent the blue light glasses that blocked all the way up to 550 nanometers, which included some of the green spectrum. There was a lot of studies coming out that said that light past the blue spectrum and actually into sort of green at the beginning and to mid-green up to 550 would also disrupt melatonin. We thought, oh, brilliant, we've solved this problem now, literally create psychological darkness and by wearing these glasses. Then a year later, a study came out around about the end, I think it was December 2018, which showed that scientists found that the blue light photoreceptor melanopsin, which we thought was only present in the eyes, was actually present in the skin as well. So you could be wearing blue light blocking glasses, have all your house lights on and lamps, but that would still be disrupting melatonin production because we have little tiny body clocks in every cell in our body. So in our skin cells, in our fat cells, brain cells, wherever there's a cell, that it can be receptive to the light in the environment. So that's then when the company started to evolve. We started with the blue light glasses and we were like, oh my goodness, light actually impacts us at a cellular level on our skin. So we invented circadian friendly lighting, which was flicker free, devoid of blue light for evening use, ones that were lower in blue and more balanced across the whole visible spectrum for during the day. So that study was super important and a kind of a testament to what Bon Charge and what we're all about is that we're not about creating a product that may be then seen later on as more studies come out to be only part of the issue and try and defend that one product. We're all about changing and evolving as the studies and more evidence comes out, and that's why we went into that lighting journey as well as the blue light glasses.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense because our ancestors, back before the invention of electricity and how everybody, obviously it took a while for everybody to have electrically wired houses. But before the advent of that, which all of us that are listening to this, we don't remember this, right? But people, the only way they got light at night was fire. They had a fireplace or a candle. And that was red light. It didn't have the blue. It didn't have the green. And so it wasn't melatonin blocking. It's only very recent in our human history that we've had the exposure to these blue lights at night, outside of maybe the moonlight, right? And so outside of that, we really don't have, other than maybe like the last 100 years, 150 years or so, we really haven't been exposed to blue light at night. So this is a new stressor on humans. And the research is showing that stressor, we're not adapting well to it. And so this is where utilizing some of these biohacks like this helps us get back into natural rhythm where we can optimize our melatonin. And melatonin is not only our sleep hormone, but it's also the most important antioxidant for our mitochondria to help clean up our mitochondria so we can regenerate. And melatonin is very much in sync with growth hormone. When we get good melatonin release at night, we're going to release more growth hormone, which is our quintessential anti-aging hormone that helps us burn fat, preserve lean body tissue, turns on, helps balance and regulate our immune system. And so we just aren't going to get good regenerative healing activity in our body if we are being exposed to the blue light and the green light, like you were talking about, things that suppress melatonin at night after dark.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's really good that you mentioned that as well, about melatonin not just being a sleep hormone. It is the most powerful antioxidant. We can produce it by being under the right light environment and listening to our circadian rhythms. And it's also the most powerful antioxidant, because when we're typically using antioxidants and they're reacting and clearing out any of the reactive oxygen species and cellular damage at the mitochondria level, there's still, during those reactions, more oxygen that's left behind that can be damaging, whereas melatonin seems to be the only antioxidant that doesn't do that. So it's like almost like the perfect cellular recovery mechanism to be used. And the great thing is it's so easy to obtain. You don't have to take it exogenously. You can start to produce it endogenously by managing your light environment.
Yeah, and then also getting infrared light, red and infrared light, will actually help the mitochondria produce melatonin naturally. If we're getting that, particularly during the daytime, it's going to start to initiate mitochondrial melatonin production as well. So this is where, like, for example, our ancestors would get this by, morning sunshine, right? So morning sunrise and then also evening sunset, you're getting the red. Infrared, we're getting, really, you can get infrared throughout the day. It's kind of like a heating effect from the sun. Just getting good quality sun exposure, you're getting that. Of course, most people in our society today, we're working indoors, right? We're indoors so much. And this is where, like, red light panels, infrared, typically you got red and infrared together in most of these devices. Actually getting that exposure, whether you have a panel or I know you guys have a mask. I talked about red light toothbrush. Right now you can get these devices that will help give us the right types of light spectrum that will help stimulate mitochondrial melatonin production.
So true. And I like how we touched upon that, nature does have this damaging side and its restorative side naturally. So like you're saying, the red light therapy is found naturally in the sun, but people aren't getting out in the morning or in the evenings at sunrise and sunsets to benefit from those restorative frequencies that would ultimately repair any damage that's caused during the day from the UV and the blue light that comes in the peak of daytime, and we're spending our times indoors under artificial light, which is damaging our sleep, raising our cortisol, impacting our melatonin production. We're not getting out in the morning, we're not getting out in the night to restore and repair with those red frequencies. So this is why people do need to consider leaning into red light therapy if they can't get out into nature. We're always an advocate for nothing replaces nature. If you can promise to yourself that you can get out in the morning and the evening, do that. But red light therapy is a hack that you can lean into should you not be able to. Or if you live in an environment or a geographical location in the world where sun isn't abundant all of the time, then you might need to use artificial means of getting that red light therapy as well. And also, touching upon the fact that you have red and near infrared, a lot of people don't understand the different frequencies and what they do, because there's a tendency in science these days to generalize near infrared. They just use that terminology, but there's actually far infrared and near infrared under the infrared banner. Infrared, like you said, from the far spectrum is the heat, but the near infrared is the very restorative, deep penetrating wavelength that restores at the muscular level, bone level, tissue level, and the mitochondrial level, whereas the red light is more for that surface level skin. So there's a bit of a misunderstanding that's happening in the wellness industry we're finding at the moment as well around red light therapy.
Yeah, for sure. And so far infrared has really the strong heating effect. Near infrared gets in, and that's really what penetrates into the mitochondria and stimulates that mitochondrial melatonin production. And this is where, so most people, like our ancestors, would have been exposed to a good amount of sun. And oftentimes, for depending on, where we were at, a good amount of our skin, right? And obviously Caucasians, the reason why our skin is white is so we can absorb more of the rays from the sun. And then darker colored people, they were closer to the equator, and so they needed to block some of the UV. Whereas, again, Caucasians needed to be very light sensitive because we weren't getting as much, particularly in the winter months. But we would get a lot on our body. We would have a lot of body exposed. In our society today, outside of like being around a swimming pool or at the beach, a lot of people are, all clothed up when they go out in the sun. So they're actually, even though they're in the sun, they're getting their face in the sun maybe, and maybe their hands, they're oftentimes not really getting enough of the photobiomodulation into their skin.
Yeah, they say you need at least 40% of your skin out for the minimal effective dose of vitamin D sort of absorption across that sort of surface area. The other caveat as well is, again, I always like to add and apply context to things. People aren't getting out enough in the sun, and when they do, they're doing one thing fundamentally wrong. In addition to what you've just mentioned, is that they miss the morning sun and they go straight out into high UV periods, and their skin hasn't had time to adapt. So what happens in the morning when the UV is lower? It allows the skin to adapt. More melanin is able to be produced over time. This happens seasonally as well. So people are out during winter months and spring months when the UV, the angle of the sun, is a little bit kinder on the body. You start to build up this base tan melanin, then allows you to go outside and enjoy the higher UV periods later on in the day or later on in the summer months. This is why you typically see, especially pale Brits like Katie and I used to be, used to spend the whole winter in the UK not seeing a speck of sunlight. Then you'd go and have a week in Spain in the sun and burn all week. You go from white to pink because your body hasn't had a chance to adapt. So, you've got to be very careful with the sun. And you also touched on something very important. And I had a very deep conversation with Dr. Jack Cruz about this many years ago when we moved to Australia. I said to him, is this a good move for myself? I've moved to Australia because I'm not getting enough sun. I'm always sick. I want to be somewhere where there's more sunlight. And he just said it's probably not a good idea for a Caucasian, fair-haired, blue-eyed male to be living in Australia. The UV's too harsh. It's not right for my ancestry, my biology. So you've got to be very careful on where you choose to live as well. And that's why I have fairer hair, I have blue eyes, I have paler skin, is because I've ancestrally evolved in a region where there isn't much UV light. So I don't need a lot of melanin to filter out UV. I need more of it to I need to be out in specific frequencies of a specific latitude, receiving all that sunlight, more so than, say, an African person that lives on the equator, because they're getting so much UV light. They need blockers against that natural sunscreen, which is melanin. So I guess where I'm going here, long story short, is you just got to be very careful on your environment as well. And if you're going on holiday, or you're wanting to spend a lot of time outside in the summer or high UV periods, you've got to take light seriously during the low UV periods in order to build up natural protection using, the melanin accumulation during those UV periods.
Yeah, you kind of have to look at light exposure, kind of like exercise, right? Like good exercise, going out for walks, getting a lot of steps in. That's kind of like the morning and sunrise. Right, it's like it's really healthy, pretty much for everybody, just across the board. Whereas high intensity exercise, resistance training, healthy, but you got to get the right dose for your body type. And if you overdo it, you can overtrain pretty easily and have a negative effect on your overall health. And it's kind of the same with sunshine. And then there are things that help you with it, like if you're actually getting morning sun, or if you're doing red light therapy and infrared on a regular basis. That actually has a beneficial effect for reducing inflammation in your skin, for example, and improving mitochondrial function in your skin. So you'll be able to handle a little bit more UV when you're exposed to it. If you're consuming an antioxidant-rich diet with lots of structured water from organic fruits and vegetables, low toxin diet, blood sugar stabilizing nutrition plan with high protein and all the things that I talk about. On this podcast, your diet plays a critical role with how you respond to sun as well. So all of those things said, for a lot of people, they're going to really benefit from whole body red and infrared light exposure through like a panel, or I know you guys have a blanket as well, which makes it a lot easier because it's really portable. You can fold it up and put it in the corner, and then you get full body exposure, right? And so you're getting a lot of the wavelengths, right, into your system to have more of a systemic anti-inflammatory benefit.
Yeah, absolutely. There's two ways to use red light therapy, right? You can use it on an injury or a target area. Say you got a bad knee and you want to recover quicker, and you're not too fussed about using it every other day. You can use it in that respect. Maybe you want to use the red light face mask because you want to reduce the appearance of fine lines, wrinkles, boost collagen, those types of things. But where biohackers use it, where Katie and I use it, is that full body 3 to 4 times a week session. And the reason we do it is for mitochondrial optimization. So in biohacking, we're looking to slow our pace of aging, optimize biomarkers and biometrics across our body, and really just sort of optimize everything in a really suboptimal environment that we unfortunately live in. Red light therapy is super important at a full body mitochondrial level because we want to become more energy efficient. And that's ultimately how red light therapy works. So we receive therapeutic wavelengths in the correct irradiance of, say, between 630 and 660 visible red, between 800 and 880 invisible near infrared light. And what that does is it penetrates the mitochondria within the cells of our body, and it helps to free up more oxygen. It's like, honestly, it's like sorcery how it works. It frees up more oxygen because in the inflamed world that we live in, that's basically made our body inflamed, nitric oxide at that electron chain transport level becomes a nuisance because it gobbles up all the oxygen that we need to make ATP. Red light therapy frees up more oxygen for cytochrome C oxidase to do what it needs to do, which is optimize energy efficiency. When our mitochondria are more efficient, so say like a mitochondrial cell in a mitochondria in a cell in the skin, if it's more efficient, it's going to do what that cell is supposed to do, which is produce more fibroblasts and produce more collagen. Maybe we've got joint pain, and that's a symptom of not getting better from joint pain. It's very poor energy efficient in the cells and mitochondria at that level. What the red light therapy does is makes it much more efficient to do what it needs to do, which is repair and restore the joints. The osteoblasts then start to be able to work more optimally. So this is why biohackers do the full body biophotomodulation, because you're priming your mitochondria to be more energy efficient. You're giving it the best fuel. You're allowing it to optimize and function in its most optimal form. So when you do, maybe have an injury, maybe you have a fall or something like that, you're going to repair faster because your cells are already optimized. But also it's preventative, which is what we like in biohacking. We don't like to treat symptoms. We like to prevent them happening in the first place. And if we've got much energy efficient mitochondria, we're going to generally be more healthier at a cellular level.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And so, like you said, all of that's going to help impact the mitochondria. And so for a lot of people, red light, they use red light, like you talked about, for facial health, right? In fact, that's actually one of the growing trends is, there's so many people in our society, and for good reason, that want to reduce wrinkles, fine lines, want to slow down the overall aging process. And what we found is that red and infrared, right on the skin, near infrared in particular, right on the skin. Far infrared, again, has the heating. So you want to avoid that directly right on the skin, but utilizing the red and near infrared right on the skin has this powerful effect for anti-aging benefits.
Absolutely. It's an area I'm really passionate about because I think there's so much chemicals in the cosmetic industry now, and I think trying to find holistic, non-invasive, but also healthy ways to address appearance is something that I'm really dialed into with Bond Charge. And first of all, I want to say there's nothing wrong with caring about the way you look. Sometimes there's a bit of a stigma to it that, biohacking, you shouldn't care about image, but we do. It's absolutely fine. It's your confidence, it's how you show up in the world, it's your appearance, it's ultimately your brand. Your face is your brand, right? So yes, red light therapy is a great tool to lean into for the anti-aging appearance of skin, and it works on 2 levels. as we touched upon earlier, you have the red light frequency, the visible red that kind of penetrates through to the dermis layer, and that is going to focus on things like the appearance, redness, any imperfections, tone, texture, if you have any scars, things like that. So it's that surface level appearance, whereas the near-infrared penetrates through, as we said, through to the muscles and joints. But why that's important in terms of anti-aging is that near-infrared relaxes the muscle. So if you think of other muscle relaxants that are in the industry and what they involve, if near-infrared can relax the muscle, in turn the skin that's attached to that muscle is going to relax as well, and when the skin relaxes it becomes less crepey and the appearance of fine lines and wrinkles reduce. So it's actually a very powerful way to not just target the surface level glow and the appearance and reduce redness and calm that inflammation. It's actually very good at relaxing muscles as well, which in turn reduces the appearance of those fine lines and wrinkles. But consistency is key. Other muscle relaxants on the market, it's typically an injectable process that lasts 4 months, whereas red light therapy is something you do need to do on a regular basis, but you don't need very long. So 15 minutes 3-4 times a week, and just being consistent with it is the key to it. So that's why we have some products like face masks, because we understand that not everybody has time or willpower to insert a new modality into their life. So if you don't want to sit in front of a panel and do your session, you can wear a face mask whilst watching TV, reading a book, even cooking, if that's what you prefer to do, and then that allows you to adopt a habit, be consistent and experience the results.
Yeah, and the benefit with the face mask is it's actually contoured to your face, whereas if you get in front of a panel, it's shining light straight ahead, but our face is curved, and so there's parts of your face that are really not going to get a whole lot of that red and infrared. So for face, really that mask is best for that. And a lot of people are concerned about getting it in their eyes, but actually the research shows that it helps actually reduce inflammation in the eyes, can help improve cataracts, glaucoma, things like that. And so I actually read when I have mine on. Of course, it's not shining like directly in my eye. It's kind of indirect because it's on my face. I can see the red, but I'm actually reading. I wear mine in my sauna, which I do 4 to 5 days a week typically. If I'm traveling, I just wear it, while I'm reading in the evening, oftentimes. And so you can multitask and wear the red light mask.
Absolutely. Habit stacking is the way forward, I feel, with anything in wellness. We're also busy, so add it to something you're already doing.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, when it comes to when it comes to dental health, for example, a big thing in dental health is actually using laser and photobiomodulation to help improve the gum lining. In fact, that's what I tell people when they're told they have cavities, things like that. Unless they have major symptoms, I tell them go to a dentist that offers laser therapy, which more and more are, and get the laser therapy and just go in for more cleanings, get more laser therapy. I often see that dental, basically whether it's cavities, things like that, oftentimes you don't need fillings in many cases. I'm not saying all cases, there are certainly cases, but actually laser therapy has been shown to be really helpful for dental health overall. And that's why I was excited when you guys came out with the red light toothbrush, because now it's just something, it's not quite as strong as laser therapy, but it's something where you can get photobiomodulation on the gum lining, on your teeth on a regular basis. And it's an electrical toothbrush, so you get really good activity into the gum lining. And honestly, it's like the best toothbrush I've ever experienced. I love it. And my wife grabs it all the time because she wants to use it as well. So, so that was a great thing that you guys came out with. And can you talk more about that and how that improves dental health?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's worth sort of pivoting slightly into our scientific advisory board. So we have a scientific advisory board at Bond Charge, and we're one of the few wellness biohacking technology companies that has one. You typically find them in the supplement industry, right? But we wanted to, because there's so many products out there in red light, we wanted to have the best in the field of red light and circadian health and other areas of sort of metabolic health to be part of this board that would help advise us on products. And one of those people that are on our board is a biological dentist, actually, in the UK. He's been using red light therapy and talking about it in relation to gum health and recovery from surgery that's been involved at a dental level, and how amazing that's worked for him and his patients, which then led us to be like, well, surely there's a way to get this into everyday practice without having to sit in front of a panel baring your teeth at it, which no one really has time to do or what would want to do. And there was these things that are on the market. They're like gum shields, right? Like the teeth whitening things, but you can get them with red light in as well. But we thought that that's, again, impractical. You can't speak. You have to do it as a separate sort of thing, have a commitment to do it. And again, we're all about trying to habit stack. Like, what are we doing on a daily basis as part of our sort of general routines and wellness routines, and we can incorporate something biohacking in? And we were like, no one's done anything for 20-30 years with the toothbrush. I think the last evolution in the toothbrush was going from manual to electric, and nothing's really happened since. So in Sydney, on a side note to our scientific advisory board, who are an external advisory board of 6 PhDs, we also have 2 PhDs that work for us in Sydney in the product development and marketing side. So any kind of marketing that goes out has to be vetted by them. They have to have studies that prove what our marketing team want to say, and if they can't find them, it doesn't go out, quite frankly. And secondly, when we start to have product concepts and ideas, those PhDs sit there and they look at, well, will this work and how will it work, and is it going to be the most optimal and effective? And they found some studies which we can send you. It's any studies you want sending, David, just let us know. We'll get them sent over. They found that by utilizing red light therapy on the gums for less than 1 minute per session, just once a day, would improve gum health, periodontal health, gingivitis. It would improve that. And literally, that is all you need. At the specific irradiance that would start to stimulate that ATP production at the cellular mitochondrial level, it would start improving those symptoms in gums. So you can use it if you've got issues already, or again, from the biohacking standpoint, if you want to use it preventative measure, and you don't have to do anything different. Like you were alluding to, it's still an electric toothbrush, it still oscillates, but we've infused red light therapy into it, so you don't have to even second guess or think, oh, I've got to do some red light therapy on my gums. It's in there to be able to be put into that everyday routine. So yeah, it was a no-brainer for us, and one of those sort of moments where we're like, why has no one done this before? Like, it is complete common sense to want to do it, but it really stemmed off the back of our scientific advisory board and having experts in that area of oral hygiene, oral health, talk more about it, having that eureka moment in our product development team where we were like, yeah, this makes complete sense.
Yeah, and it makes sense that the gum lining would be so light sensitive, because if you were to go out in the sun, you're not really trying, unless you have to be really intentional about trying to get your gums exposed to any sort of sun. And so it makes sense that our ancestors, their gums would have very little exposure to sun. So that means those cells are going to be very sensitive and absorb whatever rays they're getting, whatever wavelengths, very quickly, as opposed to our skin, which would always be in contact, be in contact with light a lot. So it's a little bit less light sensitive. And so it takes more. And that's why when you wear the red light mask, to get the clinical benefit, you're trying to wear it, 10 minutes, at least 10 minutes typically for a clinical benefit, whereas less than a minute on the gums, and you're going to get that clinical benefit.
Yeah, absolutely. I didn't think of it that way either. You're right. It's never exposed and never has been ancestrally really to the sun. So the red light, and also it's very different to the skin, to the dermis layer. It is very exposed, and there's a lot of sort of vascularity in there as well, and exposed sort of veins and tissue to be able to absorb that light sort of a lot more efficiently than perhaps the skin or the muscle. So yeah, it's a really good point, that.
There was also a study. Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Katie. Yep.
I was just going to say there was a study that I read this morning. I haven't delved too deep into it yet, so I don't know all the facts and figures, but there was a study that piqued my interest that was talking about saliva and how saliva follows a circadian rhythm as well. Much like cortisol, how saliva production is greater in the day and decreases towards the nighttime. And if we're going back to our conversation at the start of this recording, we were talking about artificial blue light and how we want to avoid artificial blue light after dark because it disrupts your circadian rhythms. You need to be mindful of that with your saliva and your oral care, if it's true that these studies that I need to delve more into do follow a circadian rhythm. So at nighttime, using that red light therapy on the gums could be playing into that. But like I said, I only found this study this morning, so I'm keen to delve a little bit more into that and understand how that will play into things too.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Absolutely. Now, let's transition to PEMF, pulsed electromagnetic fields. I know a lot of my community have heard of EMFs, electromagnetic frequencies, which, get a really bad rap and for good reason. We have electromagnetic frequencies coming from our phones, coming from our computers that are new. They're not frequencies that our ancestors would have been exposed to, and therefore they're a stressor on the body. But we have been exposed to electromagnetic frequencies in nature. When we go out, in nature, trees have electromagnetic frequencies. The ground has electromagnetic frequencies. So we're always being exposed to this stuff. How does PEMF, what is that, and how does that play into, a wellness routine?
Yeah, great question. And you're right, there's two different types of EMFs. You have native and non-native EMFs. And again, everything gets lumped under this same umbrella and therefore gets a bad rap as EMFs are bad for you. But it's only those non-native man-made EMFs like the Bluetooth, the Wi-Fi, the cell phone radiations, all of those things that are disrupting our health and well-being. But the native EMFs like the Schumann resonance, which is the Earth's magnetic fields, and even everything in life is an energy force, right? So everything gives off an energy and is interacting with one another, and some of those energies are good or bad. So where PEMF comes into is it utilizes beneficial wavelengths found in nature, bringing it into the home for people that maybe can't get out to do their grounding or can't necessarily spend too much time in nature to absorb those beneficial frequencies, to hack it and use it at home. So PEMF technology ultimately pulses certain frequencies into the body by sitting or lying on a mat to allow the body to mimic that frequency. Because how the body works is it's always looking for ways to conserve energy. Now it does that by absorbing and mimicking the frequency of the energy it is around. So you may find sometimes if you're having a conversation with a really stressed individual, you start to feel stressed. Your body is mimicking their frequencies. Equally, if you walk into a supermarket that's super hectic, you might start to become stressed because your body is mimicking that frequency in the environment that it's around to conserve energy. But you can also use that to your benefit by coming in contact with a beneficial frequency like theta waves, for example, which is the grounding frequency. If you want to connect and center and rebalance, lying or sitting on a PEMF mat with a theta wave setting will slowly get your body to mimic that frequency, and then you calm, ground, and ultimately help to reduce any inflammation. But there's other frequencies that are beneficial too. So for example, delta waves, that's what your brain produces when you're in sleep mode. So if you're struggling to sleep, using a delta wave setting on a PEMF mat prior to sleep will mimic that frequency into your body and allow your body to fall into a deep sense of sleep. But equally, you can use things like beta waves, alpha waves if you're looking to meditate or go into a deep meditation practice, or if you want to boost focus or boost creativity. Being in contact with that pulsed electromagnetic field will allow your body to produce that frequency and ultimately fall into that state.
Yeah, absolutely. That's great. And I always tell people it's kind of like grounding, right? It has a lot of, it's a way that for some people, it helps them understand. I always tell people to go out, get your bare feet on grass, dirt, sand, whatever you can. Do that once or twice a day. It's like showering your electromagnetic field from, all the dirty EMFs from your cell phone, from your computer, right? All that kind of stuff, from Wi-Fi. And so PEMF is kind of like that, but it takes it to a whole nother level. And so this is something you can do. I know I have a PEMF mat that I lay on at night, right before I go to bed. And I put it on a setting that is good, sets me up for really good, deep quality sleep.
Fantastic. Absolutely. It's just another way of hacking your state that you're in, really, from the modern environment that's bombarding us with frequencies of light or EMFs that are disrupting us. It's just bringing it back to nature. If you can't get out to nature, or if you live in an apartment, or it's winter and the depths of winter and it's cold and you can't go out on ground, it's just another way of hacking it and bringing it into your environment, or habit stacking it and doing it whilst you're watching TV or reading your book in bed, so that you don't have to allocate a separate time to go outside and get it in nature. Absolutely what you said.
Yeah, that's great. Now you guys also have a sauna blanket, which I find a lot of my followers really like, because your typical wooden saunas are phenomenal. I'm fortunate enough, blessed enough to have one of those, and I love using it on a regular basis. But a lot of people don't have. Number one, they obviously cost a lot more. You got to build them. When you get them, they don't come built, or you got to pay somebody to build them. And then the big thing is, for a lot of people, they just don't have the room, right, to put them in, and they're not portable. And so the great thing about the sauna blanket is, like, you just fold it up, put it in the corner, right? So it really doesn't take up any space. You can multitask because your head is out of it. And that's actually one of the drawbacks of like a typical wooden sauna, is like you oftentimes you overheat from your head being in it. And so with this, you're getting the heat, that infrared, deep penetrating heat, sweating, but you're not overheating in your head. So you can actually have more tolerance for it. And again, it's super portable and lower cost.
Absolutely. Yeah, you're right. A lot of people don't have the space or financial ability to buy a wooden sauna, or also just to run it. They are quite costly and energy draining to run them. And an infrared sauna blanket is a more cost-effective way to purchase it, to store it, and to run as well. But again, this comes back to something that I'm passionate about, is I struggle with heat. So I was always reluctant to do saunas and able to be in them for a very long time. Andy can sit in a sauna for ages and get all the benefits, but someone like myself, I'd overheat quite quickly, and therefore couldn't get the benefits of the sweating, the detox, and all the amazing wellness benefits that come from using a sauna. So the sauna blanket was a no-brainer for myself, because a lot of that overheating and inability to stay in a sauna comes from the head. That's pounding, pulsing dizziness that comes from being in there. You can't regulate temperature that well. If you're someone like myself, the sauna blanket is a way to hack that, really. And I find that I'm able to get those benefits without sort of overdoing it in a traditional sauna, as well as habit stacking. It keeps coming back to that fact that it's just another thing you have to do, is to go and sit in a sauna where you probably don't have the time, or you have to share it at a gym with people if you haven't got the means to have it in your home. So this is somewhere we can do it at home, on the sofa, on your bed. Again, just habit stack and make it a consistent practice in your lifestyle, which is where you get the most benefits from it.
It's another great way to really sort of use light to hack your biology again. Like you guys are talking all about the benefits of utilizing heat as a way to really shock the body, right? It's all about, with infrared sauna, with wooden finished saunas, it's all about heat shock proteins, micro stressors at a cellular level that then makes us stronger, and that's normally personified by regular sauna use, in so much that your heart rate variability is going to improve. And when you've got a higher heart rate variability, which is something everyone wants to strive to achieve, it means your body's going to be more adapt to deal with stress in the environment. And stress in the environment isn't going to go anywhere. We work 9-to-5 jobs. There's pollution, there's microplastics, there's pesticides in our food. These stresses are so hard to get rid of. Yes, we can minimize them, but they're there. By utilizing sauna, improving your heart rate variability, your body's tolerance to those stresses is going to be much better, which will then, hopefully provide life extension and living longer, better, and in a much more healthier way. It also helps with, improving our detoxification pathways as well. When you're sweating out impurities and toxins, heavy metals everywhere, from aluminium deodorant to the food we eat and the pollution in the environment. Utilizing a sauna is so fantastic for that, and utilizing it in a sauna blanket is great as well, as you guys have just chatted about, which is keeping your head out of it, which is difficult for some people to have that sort of humid, claustrophobic feel of being in a box sauna, but also having it in the convenience of your own home without having to build a box sauna, which ultimately is amazing as well. It's just, you've got to have the space to be able to put that in. So this is why Bond Charge exists. It's to build these environments that we can thrive in, and allow them to be accessed by everyone as well. You don't have to have a big space to enjoy a sauna anymore. You don't have to go to a spa or a gym to enjoy a sauna where other people are sat in it and maybe it's not cleaned very well. You can have it in the comfort of your own home. So that's been very important to us on our mission as well, is to make stuff accessible to everyone.
Yeah, and that sauna blanket heats up really quickly. So like when I turn my sauna, so I do my wooden sauna in the mornings, and like I gotta, to get it to the temperature I gotta let it heat up for like 90 minutes, and so that's a lot of energy too, right? Whereas that sauna blanket, I mean, like within 5 minutes, it's, that temperature's up. You get in there, right, and you're gonna feel it. And so this is what you do. You get in your blanket sauna and you put on your red light face mask, right? Yeah. And there you go, right? You got both biohacks going. Habit stacking.
Absolutely. Love that.
Well, that's great. This has been really great, and really important topic for my audience to learn more about. And I highly encourage all of you guys to go to boncharge.com. It's BONCHARGE.com. You guys, if you've been listening to this podcast, you've heard me talk about the great products at Bond Charge before. And go check it out. Browse around. We talked about a number of the products. If you want to get anything, which you probably will, use that coupon code Jockers at checkout to get 15% off. And, Andy and Katie, this has been great. Really enjoyed this conversation. Such great information. Any last words of inspiration here for our audience?
I would say just go with what you feel is right. I think the wellness industry, there's so much information out there at the moment. There's this tendency to encourage people to do more. Sometimes you need to do less. Just go back to how would our ancestors, how would they have lived? And just adopt some basic principles, good food, good light, ultimately leaning into heat or cold therapy, and just get good sleep and don't overthink it. It's a difficult world in the wellness industry at the moment, but less is more.
For me, if people take one thing away from this conversation, it's every morning, let your eyes see natural light before anything else, and just see the difference in your mood, in your energy levels, and in your sleep. Just that one hack, it's completely free, and it will change your life.
Yeah, love it. All right, guys. Well, check out bondcharge.com. Andy and Katie, thanks so much for your time. Appreciate you guys and all the great work you're doing. Everybody be blessed.
Thank you.